Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, is my co-host, editor, producer, gunner, and tardy boy, Jacob Gloth. How are you doing today, Jacob?
Ask you about my pitch today.
What's your pitch? What are you wait, you're pitching? I thought I was pitching because I was so late today. I had to pitch.
Wait, no, are you pitching?
No, you're pitching today.
I'm pitching, I think, yeah.
What are you pitching,
I wrote
Jake?
this like two weeks ago or something because I thought I was going at one point, and then instead of me going, you went.
And then we did.
And then we recorded the special.
Yeah,
so
the 50
here it comes.
special.
Episode 51, one away from a year of
podcast.
A Very Reasonable Pilots podcast.
And we have something very exciting planned for the 52nd episode of the Very Reasonable Pilots
except
podcast.
we haven't really done that yet. We probably still need to talk about that. I don't even remember what we're doing.
We're gonna eat a cake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna be. Charlie baked me a cake.
Yeah, we're gonna silently eat a cake. I'm not gonna bake you a cake. I'm gonna get someone to bake you a cake.
You're not gonna get someone or bake me a
I'm
cake.
gonna buy you a cake at Walmart, maybe.
No,
Maybe I'll buy
I
you
won't be here for 50. I won't be near you for 52. You're not gonna email. You're not gonna mail me a cake.
Okay, here's what we'll do. For our 52nd episode, I'll buy a cupcake. 2 cupcakes. One for you, one
And you'll
for me.
eat both.
And I'll eat one of them, and I'll keep the other one in the fridge. And when you get here, I'll take that cupcake and throw it as hard as I can at the windshield of your car. And then we'll post that picture of the cupcake splattered all over your windshield. And that will be the background for the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast Twitter account. Because as of right now, the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast Twitter account, the background image for it is 2 lady pilots, one of whom is the mother, and the other one is the daughter of the duo. And they're 2 lady pilots, and they're having a good time. I thought they looked very reasonable. But
I mean, probably. So I guess they fit us, but they don't because we're not actually pilots.
And we're not mother and daughter duo.
No. Well, I mean, not yet.
Not yet. I might become your mother.
God, we've lost our entire audience, and I haven't even gotten my pitch yet.
Well, I'm waiting for you to pitch. Come on, buddy. I'm stalling. What's it called? Vamping.
Okay, well, I've got an interesting show for you today.
Ooh, interesting.
I think you'll like it because it's magical.
Ooh,
and you like magic.
I do like magic. The Gathering. Is there a land card? I play a swamp.
Not really.
I don't know how do you play Magic the Gathering, Jake?
No idea.
You seem like a magic fellow.
Well, anyway, my pitch surrounds. Well, I don't know if it's actually going to be called this, but essentially, well, we'll say it's called this just for the sake of it, because
I'm gonna start thinking.
it's called. Oh my God!
I'm gonna start thinking of a
keep
thumbnail.
interrupting me. Are you the interrupter now?
I've been the interrupter for the last 51 weeks or
Jesus.
50 weeks. You were the.
I'm just gonna keep talking because fuck you. So my pitch is called the Federal Bureau of Magical Investigations. That is the name of this government, branch, like the FBI, except it's magical investigations. So, Federal Bureau of Magical Investigations. It's kind of like Men in Black, where they're like a secret government organization, but like these guys are part of the U.S. government.
Yeah. Are they as secretive as the Men in Black? Are they, erasing memories? Or are they?
They're like, yeah, kind of. Because unlike Men in Black, where they have to erase your memories, you only can see magic if you're looking for it. If you don't know, like if no one tells you magic exists in the world, or like you're not looking for it and you're like not consciously aware of magic, it just looks like normal things happening.
Okay.
So if your brain, if you want to rationalize something as like some physical, thing that makes sense, it would just look like that. Yeah. So if there's, some wizard that's throwing shit around in a room, you would just see like, a tornado or something. Also, there's no wizards, so that's not relevant for this.
It sounds like you can only see magic if you know magic exists. Is that?
Yes, that's kind of what I said.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to.
Thanks for repeating what I said, Charlie. It's very helpful, just in case,
Sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
I'm not.
Anyway,
He knows how
so
sorry.
magic is not like, it's not like people are born with magic powers. That's not how this world works. There's like magically infused items, and they don't really talk about it as magic per se. So, you know, it's called the Federal Bureau of Magical Investigations, but they try to like, they don't reason with it like, oh, it's just magic. They try to reason with it like science. Like magic is a science, essentially.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not just all fanciful. Like, it makes sense to a degree.
It's just got its own set of rules that the audience is not aware of, but the people, the FBMI, are aware of. Is that
Exactly.
It's the
Sort of.
FBMI.
FBMI.
All right, cool.
Yep.
I like that.
So there's magically infused items, or MIs, they call them for short. And so these items can cause magical events, unless controlled, in which they give whoever has it magical powers. So, for example, you know, if you find like a magically infused Jack-in-the-Box, maybe like, you know, it's shooting fire or something.
Is it?
You know, that's the idea. Like, and it's gonna, if left alone, it will just be like spraying fire and like destroying areas and be, you know, sort of random and unpredictable. It's just sort of like a chaotic element. But if someone takes control of it, they can use this magical Jack-in-the-Box to, like, you know, have fire powers. Does that make sense?
Does that mean, like, if they get a hold of the magical Jack-in-the-Box, they gain its power? Or they can, like, use the Jack-in-the-Box as, like, a flamethrower?
They gain its power.
Okay.
So it's like the Jack-in-the-Box is infused with the magic, and they can, like, take it. As long as you have the Jack-in-the-Box, you can, like, draw from it, if that makes sense.
And maybe you can, like, you can fully take something power by destroying it, and you can only partially, like, gain things powers by, like, keeping them on you or with you. So, like...
Yeah, that might be interesting, because the way I have it set up is that the FBMI, their job is sort of to get these magical items and sort of put them in lockdown so that people can't use them. So I guess maybe it's very hard to destroy it and completely absorb its power. Maybe you need to be special for that.
Yeah, or maybe it's like some sort of, you know, end of the first Guardians of the Galaxy. It's too much power for one person to intake. So even like the smallest,
yes, that works.
You know, magical artifact, if a regular, non-enhanced person somehow destroys it, they're just gonna get turned into ash by the magic. And I'm thinking maybe like a flame, Jack in the Box that's like shooting flames is exactly that to somebody who knows magic, but to someone who doesn't know magic, it's just like, oh, well, a forest fire started. Oh, darn.
Yeah. It's like it somehow makes sense. Like they, instead of a dude with flame powers running around with a Jack-in-the-Box in his backpack, it's just like there's a forest fire.
Yeah.
Or like,
or if there's a guy in the
there was
city.
like some chemicals.
Yeah.
Like the dude has a flamethrower or something. You know.
Yeah.
So magical items are sort of a varying power, but they're usually pretty tame. Like, you know, it gives you fire powers or something like that. Nothing absolutely crazy. But a step up from that are what I have, or what I've called holes or tears. Now, magical energy comes from a place that I named the zero plane, which is kind of like another like reality or existence that's parallel with ours.
Like the Upside Down in Stranger Things.
Never seen Stranger Things,
Good.
so I have no idea. Essentially, you like draw power from this reality, or this is where magic comes from. It's like this chaotic, turbulent place. I kind of imagine it looking like, remember Doctor Strange, where Dormammu is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just like spacey energy flying around, and it's like, you know, crazy in there.
Speaking of Doctor Strange, when you brought up the artifacts, is there going to be like, like a Doctor Strange style cape? Or is it like they're all the artifacts, the FBMI are keeping them all locked up like what's it called? The Sanctorum, the Sanctor Sanctorum. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Okay.
So like the magical artifacts can be like the cape as well, where they're sort of like, you know, sentient things that help you out. We'll get to some of those artifacts. But the FBMI, for the most part, they trap most of the artifacts, or they use them, as you'll see. So the holes or tears in reality into the zero plane. So this is like a catastrophic event. So while a magical item might be like a dude with a flamethrower, you'll see going around, a hole or a tear will come off as like a volcano eruption or like a hurricane. And these are like catastrophic world events that have to be, sewn shut. Yeah. And I mean that literally. They have magical...
Oh, they have magic thread and stuff?
Yeah, that's sort of the idea. I want it to be like a literal tear. Like when you go up to it, you literally see into the zero plane, as I named it. Yeah. And there's just magic pouring out, destroying, our world. So they gotta sew it shut.
Maybe it's like the group that shows it shut are like all in hazmat gear, and they're all really, really like nervous around all this magical stuff because they're not MFBI or FBMI. They're not that. They're just like another subsect of, secret government organization. And they're all really nervous around the magic. And then our guys with the FBMI are all like really relaxed around it. They're like, it's not going to fucking bite you. It's just magic. It's just coming out. It's like water,
Well, I mean, it is like really... If you're close to a tear, it's like really dangerous, is the idea, because it's really unpredictable. You have to sew it shut really quickly, and you'll probably die. And these are like catastrophic events, like, volcanoes erupting, so that they only happen every once in a long time. So it's like, when they talk about, a tear, they're like, oh, the tear of 97, like, that was the last time that we had a tear, and that's, Yeah. Before that, it was 100 years before that. It's that sort of thing where it's like every once in a long time.
Or maybe tears are like founded nearby, like maybe every time there's a tear, some sort of like disastrous world event happens.
Yeah, that's kind of
like, or just like, oh yeah, there was a tear in Europe at the beginning of the 19th century, and then a few months later, Franz Ferdinand wound up dead. Like, maybe the tears sort of influence, like, the universe around them. And it's, like, more of a time thing, because the longer a tear is out, even if it gets closed, it's just, like, rippling throughout time. So the tear might cause some negative effects, 6 months before it happened, because the ripples go through time differently.
That actually works pretty well with my categories. So there's 5 categories of tears. Like hurricanes. So like the lower categories of tears could be like what you're saying. Yeah. Like the influential stuff. And I have written down that like the worst categories of tears are like catastrophic, happenings. Like I was going to say that actually the US didn't nuke Japan. Those were actually just tears. And the nukes is kind of like how the US government sort of like try to pretend that there wasn't magic. They were like, okay, we gotta I guess we nuked them. And they're like, oh, well, that's kind of like immoral. I'm like, well, we gotta say it,
Maybe one of the tears, one of the bombs that dropped was a tear, and the other bomb that dropped was an actual bomb that the U.S. dropped to cover its ass, because they sent in some sort of thing that caused the first tear to go crazy and blow up an entire city.
Well, it could have been you could say that there was a tear in Japan, which led to the fascist regime taking over. Yeah. And if you leave a tear, like a category 1 tear, open for long enough, it will just keep growing into a category 5. Yeah. And that's what happened.
It swallowed up this city like a sinkhole, but instead of sand, it's magical energy.
And I have that they're usually caused by extreme physical or emotional destruction. So, a tear doesn't just happen. It's not just a tear opened up. That's the way it works. Yeah. It's usually if someone is under some sort of absolutely horrific stress or something, you have a mother and you just shot her 2 kids in front of her. Then she'll, obviously freak out, and that will cause a tear.
Maybe there's I think it should be every person has the capability to cause a tear, but it's just you know, there's like a 5% chance when you get into an either emotionally or physically like traumatizing event, there's like a 5% chance that or like a 0.1% chance that you'll open up a tear.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be cool if there was just constantly like low level 1 tears happening just around like military bases and like places where they keep prisoners of war, you know? If just there's in Guantanamo Bay, there's just always a tear out in the, you know, bay because of all the horrible shit that's happening to the prisoners inside, you know? And so maybe that there's like set squads who are like positioned in these specific areas that are known for having like high levels of, you know, magical energy or, you know, that sort of thing. And I think it could be like tears, like the same thing when you tear a blanket or something. Like the more you tear a certain place, it's going to become easier and easier each time to tear it open. So it's obvious to everybody that it's not permanent solution.
Okay.
Like the sewing up of the tears. But I'm imagining, I don't know why, but I'm imagining that it's like a legitimate like needle and thread, and they have like
that's the idea. It's sort of like it's literally a needle and thread. I have written down that it's not like a small one though. It's like a big one. And you have to shoot it like with a crossbow because it's like a big ass thread, and so you shoot like the bolt, which is just a big needle, through, and then you got to like yank it shut. You can, for like a low level tear, you could probably just use one needle.
Well, I'm thinking
and pull it shut, but for a bigger one, you're gonna need, you know, a lot more.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if it was like the thread that they use is like this magic thread. Like this is the thread Rumpelstiltskin like made. You know? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the golden thread. He turned from the old story. You know what?
What do you mean, like literally?
Yeah.
Like you want it to literally be that?
I think it would be cool if you had some of the mystical artifacts that the FBMI use just kind of tie into like a weird magical history that we're not all the way privy to. And I also
well, I don't see. I have it as something else. Maybe that'd be interesting. I'm not too into the idea of incorporating those like old stories because I sort of like. I have essentially there's a way for them to get into the zero plane, and I have like sort of a mining operation where they like sort of mine parts of it, and that's how they make like the sewing, the needle threads.
I like that.
And they can make their own magically infused objects to an extent using these threads.
But maybe they're not nearly as powerful as like naturally occurring magical artifacts. And
yeah, like sort of my idea with the needle and thread is that they find this section of the zero plane that like negates magic. Like there's this material that negates it, and they use that material to make the needle and thread. And that's how they sew it shut, is because they have this material that this like metal alloy that they can use to sew it shut and negates magic. Yeah,
maybe during like. Because I know, okay, this is a long walk. Have you seen Fantastic Four, Fan Four Stick with Michael B. Jordan?
Yes.
Do you remember when they go to the other dimension?
Yeah.
I'm kind of imagining that situation for the other dimension is, or for the zero plane, is just this like completely barren wasteland. But I think it would be interesting if they found the magical thread or this, material that negates magical effects, among artifacts, and they've been like digging, mining, and like doing archaeological stuff and finding like signs of civilization on the zero plane. That's like these people were not like as advanced technologically as us, but they knew way more about magic, and so maybe there's like a B plot thread the series of like, oh, we found a giant fuck off pyramid underground or something. That's where Roanoke, the town of Roanoke, went to the zero plane.
Went there.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
And I think one thing that we could do for I don't know how comedic a show you want this to be. I'm getting the feeling it's not super comedic.
I haven't even gotten anywhere close to the characters or anything, because We've been on the fucking zero plane for the last like 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
So I guess we'll find that out whenever you let me get there.
Okay. I was just gonna say, last thing, and then you can talk about the characters.
I'm not even. I'm so far away from that.
They should have staple guns to close up the smaller tears. Instead of going full needle and thread, they just have a shitty staple gun. They go t t t t, and then they're like, it's fine, it's fixed. And then don't.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be another way of closing it. I forgot that I wrote down this part about the zero plane, which I probably should mention because we've sort of turned it into something else from what I originally wrote, which was it's a place that can only be understood in the imagination, if that makes sense, or in a dream sort of idea. So if you go into the zero plane, it's not the same as if we both went in together. Like if you're in it and I'm in it at the same time, like you and I are interpreting it differently from each other.
Are we gonna see each other if we're there at the same time, or is it like?
It's like you can, but like it's not gonna be easy. Like if we both walk in through the same door, we're probably not gonna be in the same place. We gotta like look for each other.
Yeah, we can hold hands.
It's not gonna be like super hard, but if we walk in, like I might be in like a motel that I went in when I was like 8 years old, and you might be in like your old childhood home.
I might be in the Fan Force Stick, alternate dimension.
Yeah,
Michael B. Jordan's like, there.
Oh my god.
Push him over. Say,
okay.
Nice muscles. Did you get those at the muscle store, jackass? And then I kick him. He could beat me up so easily.
Probably.
Yeah.
So the FBMI, their headquarters, is inside the zero plane. It's this part of the zero plane that I haven't named yet, but essentially it's this building. It's like a government building that is continually. When you go through it, it's essentially an endless building, and they haven't explored all of it, and so they've only set up their base in like parts of it. But the reason they use this place is because it's somewhere else in reality, so they can not be like in New York and people will be like, what's that building? Like, why is that there? And you can only get into it via this motel chain throughout the world called the Charmed Inn. And room 13, if you go into room 13 of the Charmed Inn, you go into this existence. They don't really understand why that's the way it works. They're still trying to like understand it like scientifically. Like, why does this one motel chain have this room that if you go into, you'll immediately be brought into the their headquarters. We'll just call it main base.
Yeah.
But essentially, the main base.
I think it would
room
be
13.
I think
the Charmed Inn.
The Charmed Inn. I bet there's gonna be a reveal later.
That is.
I don't know what, but I think that there's gonna be some.
Thanks. There's gonna be a reveal in my show. That's crazy.
Some clever pun reveal with the Charmed Inn name.
Oh, are you saying that I named the Charmed Inn because charm and magic? Wow, you're so smart.
I think there's gonna be a fun reveal, is what I bet.
Anyway, if you work for the FBMI, you are given an M8 service weapon. And the M8 service weapon is a magically infused item that each member of the FBMI field team has. So the field team being like the people that go out and like actually do stuff, not the people that are like inside the base, like, do administrative stuff. Like the fun job in the FBI.
Yeah.
Like, field agent.
Yeah.
And it's basically a pistol, which, it sort of adapts to how you are as a person. So for each person, it's different. One of our characters, it's like a charge rifle. So basically, it's like a rifle. The pistol, when she gets it, it's turns into this big rifle. And it's like a bolt action rifle. And for the other person, another person I have, it's like it's like two, like pistols. So like it changes based on who you are. So everyone has an M8 service weapon that will revert back into like a shape when they put it in their holster. The same generic shape. Everyone, it looks the same when it's in the holster, but if you pull it out, it like transforms into the gun.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. And what it does is it sort of like drains magical material So if you're fighting someone that, you know, has a magically infused item, you can sort of like zap, like shoot them with it, and it's not like a gun, like it's not shooting bullets, it shoots like this energy bolt that sort of zaps magic away and transports it back into the zero plane. Yeah, essentially. Anyway, the characters that I have are the fearless leader and head of the FBMI is Secretary B Kid, essentially Beatrix Kiddo, but I just
Beatrix
shortened it
Kiddo.
to B Kid.
I like it.
Good old Kill Bill. She's the ruthless leader of the FBMI, expert in all things magical. She understands everything. You know, she's been in the game for a long time.
She's got one eye.
Probably has an eye patch with one eye. Yes.
Can she have one regular human eye, and one like a lizard eye or something? I don't want to Nick Fury the head of our shield. I don't want to just give her an eye patch.
Well, she didn't even have a fucking eye patch before you said it 3 seconds ago, so you Nick Fury'd her.
Lizard eye.
So she doesn't have it. She has 2 normal eyes.
Tail.
She has her gun isn't. So for everyone else, when they get their weapon, they've been like it transforms into something specific. But for her, because you know she understands magic so well, she can turn it into whatever she wants. Like she'll be turning it into swords and into a gun. She's one of the few people that can do that because she understands how magic works so well and the sort of the physics and the science of magic.
I think it would be funny if because she's the representative, she does politics as well as deal with magic stuff. If
she reports to the president.
Her gun, whenever she takes it out of her holster, it just turns into a pen. Because the sword is truly mightier. The pen is truly mightier than the sword.
Yeah, I guess, because she's got complete control over it, so she could make it a pen if she wanted to. Then we have our protagonist, Valerie. She's a young upstart recruit who is talented but very stubborn. She's quick-witted, but what did I write here? Quick-witted, but a bunch of gibberish. Over the top with jokes. That's what it says.
Oh.
So she might say something that's funny to the audience, but the person won't think it's funny.
Maybe a bit insensitive.
It's just exactly insensitive.
Yeah.
Her M8 is a charge rifle, which is essentially a bolt-action rifle. She joined after her brother died, working for the FBMI. He closed the last Category 5 tear, and he died doing so.
Oh.
And she wants to be like him. His name was Hunter. She's 24.
And
then we have Dean. Dean is 27. He was a friend of her brother, Hunter. He's been with the FBMI for a while, but he's made very little progress. He's still a field agent. So usually you get in around early 20s, and you're late 20s. You'll probably move up from field agent to
some desk
higher
job.
position.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even just a desk job. You'll have your own squad or something.
Oh, okay.
Of field agents. Or you'll be a manager of other ones. So it'd be like being a captain of a police precinct.
Yeah.
Upper 20s, you'll probably be the captain or a sergeant and be, you'll still go out and do field agent stuff, but you're in charge of other people. You have extra duties. But Dean does not, because he's happy being a field agent and doesn't want to get promoted because he's kind of lazy. But he's very calculated and lucky. So he seems like a very lazy person when he goes into scenarios. But it's really because he's trying to think it through and, make sure he's just a cautious person, doesn't want to get killed. That's sort of related to his, friendship with Hunter, who died.
Maybe Hunter was
closing the Category 5 tear.
Yeah. Maybe Hunter was always he was, outgoing, and he didn't care about the rules. He just did what he thought needed to get done, and that's what got him killed. Is he was too reckless. He was a loose cannon.
Yeah.
And so maybe.
Well, I was saying that he sort of sacrificed himself as the goal, because you can't close Category 5 tears without getting people you're gonna die if you're gonna close it.
Maybe that's Dean's. I'm just trying to think of the character of Dean is thinking like he was a loose cannon and that's why he's dead. He can't accept the fact that he.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of why he's so cautious, because he lost his friend. So now he's a bit more of a cautious person, and that sort of comes into it because he's very, he sees what's her name, Valerie, is sort of like he like feels like responsibility for her because that was his friend's sister, and so he feels like he needs to take care of her and make sure she's not too rash.
Yeah.
But of course she is very rash because she's like her brother who's dead. I mean, we'll never meet, or will we? Who knows?
He'll probably come back in season 3 as a bad guy.
Maybe. Anyway, they're teamed up, Val and Dean, because you get like a partner. It's kind of like, again, like Men in Black. You get like if you're a young recruit, you get teamed up with a older person so that you can get more experience.
It's like that. It's like that hit show I've heard of. What's it called? Journos. I don't know if anyone's heard about that. There's a hit show about buddy cop journalists. It's basically like that, but it's magic instead of journalism.
That one's good because those characters are just so awesome. Love those two characters.
Two original
Great
characters.
People. Very unlike anyone.
Yeah.
At all. Don't know anyone that's like either of those two characters.
Nope.
They're definitely not exaggerated, grotesquely exaggerated versions of anyone.
Grotesquely.
Yes.
That's why mine's so punchy. I mean, what?
Well, yours. You're.
I don't know. Are
you Fred?
Yeah, I'm.
Anyway,
Nigel.
So, the show for the most early parts of it is focused on their relationship. As a duo, working to take care of magically infused items throughout the world. Just some ideas I had for items they run into is an instrument shop with a guitar that causes earthquakes when you play it. We have a cursed toaster that makes evil spirit toast that attacks people.
I was just imagining like the toast pops out of the toaster, and in charred on the bread it says, "I'm gonna kill you, you piece of shit." Yeah. The toaster's mad at you.
I imagine that you don't always have to fight these with violence either.
Yeah.
Like with the cursed toaster one, the evil spirit toast, I feel like they'll just like chat with it and calm it down, and it'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I don't really want to be, because there's a weird sentience to a lot of these magical items. And they sort of calm down the spirit toaster and, send it back to the magical plane.
Good for the spirit. My thought would be like, with Dean, who's lazy, and what's her name? Valerie, who's new. My idea would be like...
Or Val for short.
Val. Thank you, Val. They're just like, we'll get rid of it. Well, we can't fight it. It's a toaster. It's like, yeah, okay. And they put it into like a garbage bag and fill it with rocks and drop it in the middle of the Hudson River. And like the episode ends with the toaster like turning on, and it's like a menacing evil toaster that then gets picked up by trash men and thrown into a big dumpster pile.
Oh,
but
poor toaster.
Yeah. And one thing about Dean, the character of Dean.
Yes.
I like him. I like the idea of like he's lazy, but he knows what's going on. I think Val should be gung-ho and gun-ho.
Yes.
Like she's
very rash.
She's pulling out her weapon, her service weapon at all times. And maybe her service weapon changes each time. Maybe.
Interesting. So she's okay.
Like it changes.
I kind of like that because I want her to be sort of set up as like a very, powerful person. Like she's very skilled. So maybe she's not, because what's her name? B-Kid, the leader.
Yeah.
She's the only person that can like do it. The only person that can do that is to like change her service weapon. But Val is showing an ability to be able to do it as well, but she can't control it like B can.
Maybe it's like
which maybe will help influence a relationship between the two, or she sort of mentors her.
Like maybe B is she's the only person who can do it at will. She can she's got the gun in her hand, and while it's still in her hand, she can change it into a different gun or into a pen or into a cell phone or whatever. And maybe other agents are able to have different things as service weapons each time they pull them out of their holster. Like, maybe, like, Dean takes his gun out of his holster, and it's just his regular gun. He puts it back in, he takes it out again, and it's, like, a hairdryer or something. And they're able to change it in between, like, you know, situations, but it's not really controlled. It's more, like, pointed. And it's like, I need something that's loud and big, and, you know, a Desert Eagle shows up in their hand, or a shotgun shows up in their hand. And, like, you learn how to switch your service rifle or service weapon into different things, like, after 2 years of being on the job. But Val has, like, figured it out accidentally within the first 6 months.
Okay. Maybe I think that it'd have to be worked on, because I want it to be a special thing. Like, it's not 2 years. I feel like it's not enough. You need, like, P-Kid has been at it, you know, is in the organization for, you know, like, over 10 years. And I want her ability to be able to do that to be very special. Something that's unique to, like, her knowledge about magic.
Yeah.
So I guess we can probably figure that out
But
another time, because I have a couple other things I need to get through.
Yeah, let's hear it.
We have video game console that makes its villains from the last game that was put in. So it just pops out villains from the last game that was put in through, like, the disk drive. Which would be, you know, okay if the last game that was in was, like,
Tetris.
You know, Mario Kart or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just have, like,
a blue shell leaks out of the front.
Yeah, that would be fine. Unfortunately, the last game that was in was Resident Evil.
Oh no.
So you got, like, vampire people and like grotesque monsters and stuff coming out, and they're like, this is awful, this is the worst
it's like
magical item, and like all these monsters are like just as awful as they like would be in the games in real life. So it's just like it's like a pretty awful and tough magical item to deal with. It's like, 'cause you got all these crazy monsters coming out. But they find out, like, because it's impossible to beat all these monsters. They're, you know, insane. But they find out that if they just unplug the console, all of them disappear. That's sort of how they solve it in the end. Like, they're running away from all these monsters and stuff, but they unplug it, and they all go away.
Val
like,
trips over the thing, and it gets unplugged. I'm thinking maybe, like, the episode starts with this guy, and he's only ever played Pac-Man on his video game console. He loves Pac-Man, and he's like, you know, he hasn't really noticed, but there are all these, like, little white things that seem to fall out of, like, little white cubes that seem to fall out of the console. Yeah. Like in Pac-Man. And then he's like, you know, oh man, I love Pac-Man, but I want to try out this new games. I got the Resident Evil, like, 1 through 3 collection. And you put it in, and, like, all the fucking horrible things that are in all those games just crawls out of the, like...
Crawl out, yeah.
And I like the idea of, like, Nemesis, who's in the third one, I think, and he's, like, 9 foot tall and, like, a brick shithouse, and he has to crawl his way out of, like, a tiny little disk drive. Yeah. He's like, hey, it's like Pennywise, but he's really stuck in there. Yeah, I like that.
And that's cool, because then he's like chasing our two protagonists, and they're like, I don't know what we can do. They just keep shooting him with the guns, but they're not really working. And then eventually, after like running away and fighting these guys for so long, I imagine eventually they like come up with this crazy strategy and they take him out. They're like, oh, we finally got him. And then like a bunch more come out and they're like, this is impossible. We're never gonna be able to do it. And Dean just like unplugs the Xbox. It's like, oh, that worked, I guess. Or
maybe, like, throughout the entire episode, Valerie is like, why don't we just unplug and then, you know, she keeps getting her, why don't we just unplug the...
And he's like, that would never work. That's not how magic works, okay? It's not related to power, okay?
Yeah, it's not fucking electricity, okay? BG&E does not power our magic. And then, like, throughout the entire... And the last, like, fight is happening in the living room, I'm imagining. And they just, you know, Valerie, Dean, and a third character that they picked up along the way who came out of the video game but doesn't want to be evil. Like, maybe...
It's like the protagonist or something.
Or, like, one of the sillier villains. Like, in Resident Evil 4, there's, like, a little kid guy who's, like, 100-year-old Napoleon man who's, like, 4 foot tall. And maybe he comes out of the game and he's like, I want to be your friend, let's go! And like,
Yeah.
they're like, he's so fucking annoying. But, and there's like, they just, you know, finished the final climactic battle, and Nemesis and all the other bad guys are on the ground, like, beaten. And they just start getting up again, and Valerie's just like, fuck it! And she walks over and yanks it out of the thing, really annoyed, and they all disappear, and she just storms out of the room. She's like, I told you! Come on! You're buying lunch, or whatever. And she's just pissed off for the whole day.
And then the last one of those short episode ideas I have is a little tribute to Night in the Museum, where they go to a museum and all the statues and artifacts come to life. And they have to, like, they're not, like, all evil. You know what I mean? Like, they're just, like, whatever they were.
Yeah.
So they have to, like, you know, either appease them or, like, you know, take them out, whatever they are.
Yeah.
But essentially, you know, send all the energy back into the magical plane. Or in a lot of these cases, it's not like they just like zap out the, you know, the power from the magical infused items, because as I said, they have to take it back to the HQ and like lock it up in a room.
Yeah.
I imagine there's like this big room inside of like the HQ center, whatever it is, that's called like the containment area, and they just have all these like cells for magical items, and they have them like contained in that that same material that they use for the sewing stuff.
Like, maybe I would like it if like each item, no matter how like inconspicuous, gets its own prison cell, made entire like solitary confinement cell made out of the stuff. So it's like, yes, there's a thimble. That thimble contains the souls of like 3,000 people who were all murdered by somebody who was wearing that thimble. And it's like, you know, they just put it on a table and leave it in the room alone. They close the door and it gets an entire cell to itself.
Yeah, it's just like this little thing on the floor in this big room.
Yeah, and then you like fade and you slowly zoom in, and like the screams of thousands and like fire and burning, just like is sounds of that
echo
just
from this thimble.
Yeah.
The idea of the season plot is that magical events are becoming more volatile, so each of the magically infused items that keep showing up around the world are more drastic. So we'll start with something small like the evil toaster, and then we'll slowly build up to the, you know, the earthquake guitar, or maybe the console that's leaking Resident Evil villains. So it's getting worse, and people are not really sure. There's sort of like this obvious stress on B Kid, because she sort of knows what's going on, but she's not one of our main characters, so we don't really get the insight of her, what she's thinking.
Yeah.
And we see that it's leading up to this big super magical event where all the tears are reopening, including Hunter's Tear and the original tear, which I'll explain later. So they have to go around closing all the tears, and they fight this cult that's sort of the enemy of the FBMI, that isn't really talked about in the beginning. It's sort of a hidden enemy that like B Kid knows about, and like a few of the upper people know about. It's called the Zero Cult, which worships the void.
Or maybe Dean has heard about them like once or twice when he was a recruit, but they've been, you know,
it's like sort of like a rumor, or like, you know, they don't. It's just like the boogeyman. Like they don't think they actually exist.
They've been out of commission for decades. There's no way the Zero Cult could be behind any of this crap.
But the Zero Cult wants to like open all the tears and sort of assimilate our reality with the Zero plane. It gets, you know, they go around, they close all the tears. That's sort of how it works. And sort of the end of season 1 is Val closing Hunter's Tear, which was a catastrophic Category 5 tear, and she's able to do it without, you know, dying, because protagonist.
I think,
And then the season 2 is going to focus on the original tear, which is also open, because they're going to focus on like trying to find it. I'm just going to blow through this idea really quick because I didn't actually read a lot about it. They have to find the original tear, and so they're going around, you know, doing like some hunting, and they're, you know, trying to find out where this tear is, talking to all kinds of people around the world who have knowledge about magic and such, because not even B Kid knows where it is, and, you know, she's top of her game. Yeah. I imagine that maybe the FBMI was crippled after season 1 as well. So it's I imagine it's probably B Kid, Val, and Dean are going around the world together, because most of the FBMI is like gone or tattered, or they're trying to like rebuild the
disbanded
organization.
Yeah.
And they eventually find that the original tear is on the moon. And I imagine this really cool last episode of season 2 where they go to the moon, and the moon is like the Doom games.
Oh.
Like the original tear is open, and there's like these demons everywhere.
Oh,
it's
badass.
It's like, and then you're gonna get like some cool like Doom scenes where B-Kid's running around like the Doom Slayer, just like wiping out demons left and right with her ever-changing weapons.
Yeah.
Val and Dean are like behind, and they got a bunch of other FBMI people running as well.
In between each like shot or cut, B's weapon transforms. Like she's got like a double barrel shotgun in one frame. She fires, cut. She's got a rocket launcher that she, shoots slow-mo through a demon or something. I'm imagining this last episode of season 2 being very Zack Snyder.
It's gonna be insane. Like she'll have a double barrel shotgun, blow a demon's head off, and she'll like whip it around in the same shot, and as she's moving the double barrel shotgun, it turns into a sword. She like axes a demon in the head.
Yeah, like the shotgun goes out off frame for like half a second, and when it comes back onto frame, it's like a great sword that she slices through a guy's head.
She goes straight through, yeah.
And I think,
and then as she like rips it out, it's now like a rocket launcher, and she fires a rocket. I imagine she's like a really awesome badass. And this whole last episode, it kind of just proves that. Mm-hmm. But I imagine that in the end, it's Val who seals it, the original tear. Yeah. Because she is the protagonist.
Maybe, and this isn't just an idea, but like maybe at the end of season 1, like Dean and Val have gotten very close, over the last year or however long the season takes place over. And maybe when they're closing all the tears at the end, he sacrifices himself. Dean sacrifices himself
to close the original tear
to help her close the tear, because she's like, no, this is my destiny. My brother died doing this. This is my family's burden as whatever. And then like he's like, okay, fine, whatever. And then he tricks her, and he actually like sacrifices himself so that she can close the tear. And maybe throughout season 2, they go to that, they're like traveling around the world finding these tears, or looking for secret like portals into other planes of existence. And maybe there can be like a Dean comes back from the dead subplot where he's like,
but it's like not really him or something. It's just sort of like maybe it's a magically infused item that's gone awry, and it like looks like Dean and it acts like Dean, but it's not Dean. Mm-hmm. And she figures that out at the end of the episode.
Or it's like you're presumed dead because you get whenever you close a level 5 tear, you're presumed dead because you get sucked into the tear while you're closing it. And maybe that's not the case. Like level 5 tears just transport, if a person gets sucked into the one, they just get transported to some other plane on like the other side of the galaxy or whatever. And so he's like, I'm just thinking there could be a cool like subplot where Dean is trapped in like a magical dimension where he has no real idea or how things work or friends, and we leave him and then come back, or like he gets trapped there at the end of season 1. We leave him, come back midway through season 2. He comes out of a tear, and he's like this absolute badass, magical badass who's been surviving on his own, like fighting demons and shit. I think that would be cool.
Maybe. I'm not sure, because I don't really like the idea of like
two badasses
having an emotional death and then being like, nah, they didn't actually die.
Yeah, that is true.
But you gave me an idea that I think I want to give you now, which was so we do kill Dean with the tear, the tear that's on Earth in season 1, the same one that killed her brother. In this scenario, it's going to kill Dean as well. And so at the end of that, it's like, oh, she lost Dean, but she's like, it motivates her, helps her character a little bit. She's becoming more hardened as a person, and like better with the whole magical thing. And season 2, instead of being Dean, Val, and B going out and closing all the tears, it now sets up as just Val and B going around.
Yeah.
Which I think would be cool to have that like mentor-mentee dynamic.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you could set up like Obi-Wan-Luke relationship between the two. And in the final episode, when you have them closing the original tear on the moon with all the demons and stuff, it's B that closes it. And she dies closing the original tear. And we get Val succeeding her as the leader of the FBMI, and we'll probably have like a post-credit scene where she's older and she kind of looks like B now, and she's like in charge of the FBMI as like the director or secretary, and she's she's rebuilt it, and it's now like better than it ever was under her command.
Maybe there's like a cool epilogue scene where it's like Val shows up at FBMI offices. She's like, I'm here to pick up my stuff. B fired me, right before the end of the big fight at the end. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, sure, let me just show you to B's office. There's something you have to watch. And it's like a video will, like, telling her that she's gonna be the one who runs the thing, and it's like crazy, like the end of Batman, Dark Knight Rises, when they're like,
everyone loved that ending.
Your name's Robin. Your name should be Robin, like that.
You should go by that.
Yeah. And then Isaac Asimov shows up.
Why do you keep thinking his name's Isaac Asimov? It's Isaac Illich.
I know it is. It's Isaac.
You just don't remember.
So I think that was a really good show. I would definitely watch this. You know what I want right now? I want an FBMI like patch. You know, as there's FBI like patches and stickers and stuff. I want an FBMI patch.
Federal Bureau of Magical Investigations.
Yeah, that's badass.
I think it's fun. I got inspired by what's it called? You had a pitch that I thought it involved magic. I can't remember what it was now.
Journey to
Atlantis. And I was like, I want to do a magical show.
Yeah, magic's
I want to
fun.
make it like, government or something. I don't remember why. But anyway, I was inspired by that pitch, and I was like, I should do a magic show too. And this is what came out of it.
Well, I enjoyed this pitch very much. Sorry for interrupting so much. But
it was just awful.
I am the interrupter.
You are the interrupter.
Well, anything else to say, Jacob? Anything to add before I close this podcast out?
No, I hope the thumbnail's cool, though. It probably won't be.
I think it's going to be great. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles Long. With me, as always, has been my co-host, editor, producer, gunner, co-pilot, Jacob Gloth. Thank you very much, Jacob. If you would like to hear more, please like, subscribe, tell all your friends. If you want to hear from me, you can find me at Charles_Lungs on Twitter.com. And if you want to hear more about the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, you can find us there at VRP Pod at Twitter.com. Thank you very much. And have a beautiful day. And love you all individually.